Iran, also known as Persia in the Bible, turns out to contain a far deeper mystery than what we usually imagine when we only look at modern political conflicts or daily news reports. So have you ever wondered whether this land is not merely a scattered name in ancient chronicles, but an important factor used by God to accomplish great plans since Old Testament times? Many people only pay attention to Israel, Egypt, or Babylon, but in fact, the Bible and even ancient celestial writings such as the Book of Enoch mention the ancestors of the Iranian people right from the post-flood era, specifically in Genesis 10, through the lineage of Japheth and his son Madai. This core lineage shows that Iranians were present very early in history, carrying a certain prophetic significance, because it is not by chance that the Bible describes them as a special side, chosen by God to fulfill great missions, from delivering the people of Israel to pivotal events in the global redemption plan. The most astonishing thing is that even foreign kings such as Cyrus the Great could become instruments to fulfill prophecies made hundreds of years prior. Isaiah 44 verse 28 and 45:1 specifically mention Cyrus as the Lord's anointed, who would allow the people of Israel to return home after 70 years of exile in Babylon, thereby restoring the temple and promoting the rebuilding of the Holy Land of Jerusalem. Is there any event that more clearly demonstrates the sovereign rule of God, who needs no one's acknowledgement yet silently influences and changes human history, even using a people outside the covenant like Persia? In the book of Ezra, chapter 1, when Cyrus issues a decree allowing the Jews to return, we clearly see Persia's magnitude not only on a military level, but also on a spiritual level, because they helped carry out the plan Jeremiah 25:12, 29 verse 10, accurately prophesied about the exile's duration. Furthermore, the book of Esther also shows that God orchestrated the event where Queen Esther, a Jewish woman, won the favor of King Xerxes, or Ahasuerus, to save her people from Haman's genocide plot. The festival of Purim originated from that, reminding posterity that even under the rule of a powerful foreign empire, God can still preserve his people and reverse a seemingly hopeless situation. If you find these pieces of evidence insufficient, turn back to the celestial writings such as the Book of Enoch, where supernatural mysteries and accounts of the race of giants after the flood are described. We discover the connection between Madai and the descendants of Japheth, placed at a prophetic milestone, implicitly affirming that God has planned Iran's role from ancient times. This does not only have theological value, but also evokes perspectives related to the operation of the divine universe. God is not limited to one people or border. He can arrange and guide events on both the micro and macro levels so that all things work together for good to those who love him. Romans 8 verse 28. In the book of Daniel, we see more details indicating Persia's presence in the visions of rising and falling kingdoms, with the image of the bear, Daniel 7, or the ram with two horns, Daniel 8, representing the Medo-Persian alliance, a symbol of the mighty empire succeeding Babylon. Notably, Daniel 2 recounts King Nebuchadnezzar's dream of a statue made of metals, in which the chest and arms of silver imply the Medo-Persian Empire, while Daniel 8 describes a one-horned goat, symbolizing Greece, that would later defeat the ram, foretelling the day Persia would fall to Alexander the Great. However, the period of Persian rule was also when Israel was able to return home and rebuild the temple, proving that a foreign empire could become the means for God's grand program. Beyond that, post-Daniel and post-Ezekiel prophecies again suggest that Persia, Iran, may appear in end-time events, specifically in the Battle of Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38-39, where Persia and other major powers will rally against Israel, triggering a large-scale global conflict. Many modern biblical scholars view the political context of the Middle East, especially the alliances that Iran may join, as a clue showing how prophecy might be realized. The timing is uncertain, but the historical significance and scale of the conflict will undoubtedly be enormous. Yet from a perspective of faith, we recognize that though the event carries destructive undertones, it ultimately only further consolidates the glory of God, who will intervene and protect his people supernaturally. Leaving the prophetic thread for a moment, we see another very interesting detail related to Iran in the New Testament. The wise men, magi, who worship the infant Jesus, Matthew 2, are often believed to have come from the Persian region. Perhaps they were astrologers or Zoroastrian priests bringing precious gifts to honor the King of the Jews. This event further proves that though the Persian Empire had declined under the Greeks, Iran's cultural and religious influence remained so widespread that they waited for, or at least were ready to respond to the heavenly sign of a coming Messiah. Clearly, the link between Iran and the Bible was never severed. It continued smoldering in the stream of history until it was kindled at crucial moments. From a personal perspective, for many years I have pondered why God entrusted Iran with such a strange position. Many people only see political instabilities, religious conflicts, tense declarations between Iran and Israel, or controversies about Iran's nuclear program. However, if we place it all into the context of the Bible and celestial writings, we see a unified picture. God can use anyone, any nation, even if they do not belong to the covenant, to complete part of the overall redemption plan, just like he used Pharaoh of Egypt, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, then Cyrus, Xerxes, and Darius of Persia. This encourages our faith, because all historical developments turn out to lie within the sovereign orbit of the Almighty. I myself used to feel perplexed before the seemingly incomprehensible prophecies about the Battle of Gog and Magog, but upon deeper study, I realized that it is not just a frightening threat intended to terrorize Bible readers' minds, but truly a declaration that the Lord's power is always sufficient to protect his people and lead history to its fulfillment, where all nations, even Iran, will acknowledge the greatness of the Creator. From Cyrus rescuing the people of Israel from exile, Esther overturning Haman's scheme, to the possibility of Iran appearing in the final chapters of Ezekiel, we see that Iran is by no means an anonymous link. Indeed, if we research extra-biblical sources, we also find archaeological evidence for the accuracy of Cyrus's decree, or the writings of Herodotus, Xenophon, illustrating how Persia managed its vast territory, including the region that once belonged to Babylon. Likewise, if we read the celestial writings of Enoch or Jubilees, we further identify the cohesive link between the lineage from Japheth's descendants and the cosmic program, which asserts that no nation was born outside God's plan. Everything is like a closed circle, in which all things serve the purpose of paving the way for the Messiah, and then fulfilling all promises in the future. Let us set aside modern political and economic factors of Iran to admire this sacred backdrop. You will see that the story of Iran is not limited to a few conflict analyses or international treaties, but is also imprinted in every word of the Bible, every page of celestial writing. Thus, instead of fearing every time we hear news of Iran-Israel tension, we are encouraged to see it as a sign that God is still at work, and perhaps he is about to complete the final details in the broad picture of end times. And to prepare ourselves, we are invited to explore, learn, and listen to God's word, so that we can recognize the signs of the times, as Jesus often told the Jews of old. If you have read this far, I want to send you a call to never stop studying the Bible, to see more clearly how God writes history through nations that seem unrelated. Press the like button if you feel this article awakens faith, hope, and the longing to delve deeper into God's wondrous program. Also, do not forget to subscribe to our channel to receive more in-depth content about the connection between the Bible and the modern world, as well as how ancient celestial writings add details to the great divine picture. If you know anyone who is longing for more validated information about Iran's role in the redemption plan, please share this article with them, so we can together spread awareness and contribute to building a community that trusts in the supreme power. Do not be afraid to express your personal views in the comments section, for every perspective enriches the dialogue. Maybe you have practical experiences or interesting findings about Persian history, or simply want to share your feelings after realizing how important a position Iran holds in the history of salvation. Every share helps spread hope that God is still acting today, right amidst seemingly deadlocked conflicts. We cannot know the exact time or form God will use to fulfill the prophecies, but we are sure of one thing: Iran, along with Israel and other nations, will appear in the right place and right manner in his almighty plan. From the story of Cyrus, Esther, or Daniel, we learn the valuable lesson that there is no political power or earthly empire capable of hindering God's hand. And looking at contemporary Iran, we have ample reason to believe that what is happening, however dramatic and complicated, is still within a plan laid out from time immemorial. Tragedy only occurs if we do not pay attention, do not study, and do not realize the profound link between the Bible, celestial writings, and reality. Therefore, the final message is this: broaden your perspective, place Iran in the sacred picture, and let faith help you see beyond the narrow boundaries of human vision. Be confident that, through every dynasty, God always has ways to operate and ensure His word is perfectly accomplished. Once we become aware of that, every historical shift, including the ups and downs of Iran, will become a resounding testament to the supreme power of the Almighty, who can use both pagan kings and seemingly unrelated peoples to maintain and complete His marvelous redemption plan. Let us follow God's footprints in life, and do not forget that each of us is also called to participate in that work through faith, through praying for peace, and through specific loving actions toward one another. That is the central message. Iran, whether through the ancient name Persia or in the future, will always be a mysterious yet important link, so that history will once again prove that all things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8:28. May you continue to discover and deeply experience the wonders about Iran in both the Bible and celestial writings. And if you long for it, courageously pray to God to enlighten you to understand some part of His mind and ways. Because after all, this is not merely a story about a Middle Eastern nation, but a vivid illustration of God's almighty sovereignty over every people and every era, so that in the end all must bow before His majesty and infinite love.